Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the latest edition of Wow, Lynch, Wow, dedicated to filmmaker David Lynch and inspired by the triumphant return of Twin Peaks. A quick warning to everyone who isn't caught up on all 7 episodes of the new season of Twin Peaks. There will be spoilers and they will begin shortly, so viewers and listeners be warned. Things begin on Jerry Horn in the woods, and he looks baffled. He's looking around in the woods, and he decides to give his brother Ben a call, and he too soon becomes baffled. Jerry is thoroughly fried and does not know where he is. At the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department, Hawk shows Truman the missing diary pages he found in the stall panel. They were indeed the missing entries Annie told Laura to write back in Fire Walk with Me. Hawk tells Truman that these are 3 of the 4 missing pages, and Hawk is convinced Leland left them there back when they were investigating him for Jacques Renault's murder. He's convinced that this is what the log lady wanted him to find, and he properly interprets the message to mean that bad Coop emerged from the lodge. Frank calls Harry to pick his brain, but it doesn't sound like our pal Harry is doing too well. Frank tells him to do him a favor and beat this thing. Andy is questioning the owner of Richard Horn's murder vehicle. The guy says he can't talk now, and he will meet Andy later. Andy agrees to meet this guy at 4:30 on the logging road by Sparkwood and 21. I don't think this is the Giants' 4:30, but it's interesting to note nonetheless. Frank Truman calls Doc Hayward. They agree to talk on Skype. A monitor then emerges on Truman's desk that pops up like something out of a Bond villain's office. So he's on Skype with Doc asking about the final day with Cooper after he emerged from the lodge. Doc remembers that Coop was acting mighty strange. He mentions he brought Coop to the hospital and later saw Coop sneaking out of intensive care, apparently looking in on our beloved Audrey. Uh-oh. Lieutenant Knox comes to see Detective Mackley. She asks about the prints that were lifted, and she was mighty surprised to learn that they came from a body. There's a body, all right. How old? Late 40s. How long has it been dead? Just a few days ago. The plot thickens in the Major Briggs mystery. Knox calls her superior reporting on the mysterious circumstances of Major Briggs, and a creepy-looking shady character who looked a bit like the entity in the jail cell, he's wandering around in the background. Knox then informs the detectives that this won't be their case for much longer, and the strange individual creeps by again. Albert's at the door. He gives Cole some bad news about Diane. She wanted nothing to do with Cooper. So now it's Gordon's turn to convince her to help them, and Cole says please and asks Albert to tag along. Cole and Albert arrive at Diane's house. She's none too happy about this predicament, but they ultimately convince her to come along and check out Coop. They're on a plane. Cole, Albert, Diane, and Preston. Tammy shows Albert and Cole what she found in the fingerprints, and Diane listens on horrified as she hears them discussing bad Coop. At the prison, Diane marches in to see Coop. She's immediately uneasy, and she asks him if he remembers the last time they saw each other. Coop starts acting all weird and creepy, and Diane asks him, "Who are you?" And this was eerily similar to what Laura once said to Leland. Outside, Diane tells Gordon it's not him. Cole wonders if there isn't something more to tell about her last encounter with Cooper. She promises to tell him eventually, and Preston and Albert look on, feeling left out. Bad Coop is being led back to his cell, and he tells the guard to tell the warden that he needs to speak to him about a strawberry. Andy is by his patrol car waiting for the truck owner. Vintage Twin Peaks music is playing in the background, and listening to it, you just get the feeling that the whole town of Twin Peaks is once again somehow being engulfed by powerful forces. The guy no-shows, and Andy gives up and drives away. Bad Coop visits the warden privately, and the warden pulls a gun on him. Bad Coop has dirt on the warden and mentions the name Joe McCluskey. Bad Coop wants a car and a gun. He has no interest in pursuing matters against the warden. He just wants out of the prison, and the blackmail regarding the late Mr. Strawberry pays off. Janie E's waiting for Cooper at work outside his building. Tony confronts Cooper inside the office, but Janie E's had enough with the waiting. She marches her way inside. Cops come to see Dougie, and at the first mention of cops, Tony bolts away. The cops arrive at Dougie's office, and Janie E marches in for good measure. The police start asking questions, and Janie E starts schooling the police. Battling Bud enters the mix and intuitively knows that the cops already found Dougie's car. They admit that they have, and Janie E is furious. The cops seem a little bit intimidated by Janie E, and they want info from her, but at her convenience. And Battling Bud lets Coop off the hook for an important talk about the case files. Janie E tells Coop about her arrangements with the Loan Shark ruffians, and suddenly, Ike the Spike is on the prowl with a gun, and Cooper's survival instincts kick in. He grabs Ike's gun hand and wrestles him to the ground as a shot's fired off. Coop nails Ike with a karate chop, and then he sees a trippy vision of the arm telling him, squeeze his hand off, squeeze his hand off. Coop strikes Ike with another vicious karate chop, and Ike scrambled free and ran off. Was this the bell to sound the first of 4 furious rounds? Coop saved the day, but honestly, this was a piss-poor strategy from Ike. If all he had was an awl, it would be one thing, but this time he had a gun. He could have shot Coop from a distance, but instead, he ran right up to him and basically ran directly into Coop's grasp. Coop's heroics became a headline story, with many an endearing eyewitness account of his heroism. Then the cops peel off what appears to be a chunk of flesh from the gun Ike was wielding. Ben and his assistant Beverly are at the Great Northern. They're trying to find the source of a mysterious humming sound. Then Ben finds the keys. He remembers. Agent Cooper stayed in this room. Laura Palmer's name was mentioned. The humming continues. Is this dearest Josie communicating from trapped inside the wooden handle? Beverly goes home to who I assume is her sick husband, Tom. She's late, and sick Tom isn't happy that she's late. And for that matter, Beverly seems none too happy with him either. The roadhouse is shutting down. Renault is in the background and someone is sweeping up a mess. You'd think they'd buy this poor guy a bigger broom. The new Renault is on the phone having a shady discussion about 2 young whores and the family business. Bad Coop's demands were met. He is given a vehicle, a phone, presumably a gun, and he's also accompanied by some shady-looking character who Bad Coop asks to drive. The warden watches on disapprovingly. And things close at the Double R, where we see many familiar faces, and we even hear the sounds of familiar giggles. Personally, I think Part 7 was an absolute powerhouse. It was undoubtedly my favorite part so far. I can't wait to see Part 8. So what did you think of Part 7 of the new Twin Peaks? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good night, everyone.